Today is February 24th, 2025, and today we're going to meet Chiyo. Chiyo came through February 19th, 2020 at 11:57:18 a.m. I'm still in Alpine, California, and a full 9 months have transpired since the last major transmission, which was from Olef. A variety of transmissions of contacts came through between Olef and Chiyo. However, this transmission, Chiyo, is the next major transmission. This will give you an idea about how much or how little I was actually working with the crystal. Back in this time frame, 2019 going into 2020, we still have not ramped things up yet. The beings and the transmissions are coming through very gradually. And again, I'm only going in when I'm feeling that feeling, like I'm getting the call. It's very similar to what I hear people reporting when being contacted from UFOs or spacecraft. They get this feeling that they should go outside. It's very similar to this. The call that comes to me through the crystal is a feeling that I can very much associate with that. Chiyo's species is unknown to me. Like the majority of the beings who transmit through the crystal, they're not beings that we're typically aware of. They're not your standard gray or reptilian or feline or something of this nature. They're something else altogether. But Chiyo is associated with the air element. And this species of being they're a transitional being, and their job, their role and function is to assist the newly departed and others, but majorly the newly departed get to where they're going after their life experience has completed. We can see some of these symbols in this frame. We can see the blue sky, we can see the clouds, and even in this frame, I believe the only one to date where an actual orb came through in the frame itself. So we see the elements that the being or the species is associated with. There's not a planet of origin. The environment in which this species of being lives, and I believe this is a corporeal being, just in a different sense than what we would normally think of as being very physically manifest on a planet, but they do have a physical structure, although with no planet or sphere of origin. Their environment or the environment they're associated with is the air element. Now, Chiyo, or let's say the species of being, has contacted me in the OBE. And this is a phenomenal experience, really. And it began with a particular question. After I had begun going out of body, I routinely in the morning would go in for a wake back to bed for an intentional OBE. I would do this to bring back more data than I could normally collect when the OBEs were happening in the night. And there was a lot of distance between the experience itself and waking proper in the morning. So I had gone in this morning, or was going in this morning, with a question. I began remembering an experience that would happen with me a lot when I was a child. The phenomena of repeating dreams itself was very standard to my early years, pre-age 20. And there's this one particular repeating dream that I would have 2, 3, maybe 4 times a year. It wasn't as consistent as some of my other repeating dreams, but consistent enough for it to have stayed with me a lifetime. It's a phenomenal experience. I can contrast it heavily with the more abduction scenario type experience I would have. But in this experience, and it is an OBE, I'm referring to it as a repeating dream, but the dream shifts into an OBE. So back pre-age 20, I would do this a lot. I would simply shift from my physical location, my physical bed, into the what I now call etheric frequency version of my room in the house in which I was living. And I would simply get up out of bed, walk out of the house, and walk down to a park, a very specific park named Sunset Park. And it's in an area of town called Paradise. Interesting concepts. But I would walk down to the park. I would walk through the park. I knew exactly where I was going. I would go to a very particular location in the park where I knew there was an opening in the ground. And I would go down in there. I would lower myself on what I perceived of as a ladder, and I would enter this a very small earthen alcove. And in this small alcove was another doorway, another gateway in the ground. Now, from the bed, from the shift into the etheric frequency version of my space, and all the way to this second gateway in the ground, I would be fully conscious. This is just your standard OBE. However, once I entered, and went through that gateway, all conscious awareness stopped. So whatever happened on the other side of that gateway, I still have no or very little awareness of. When I would come back from the experience, when I would come through this gateway and find myself in a little earthen alcove again, I would be fully conscious again. And as my small child self, just walk myself through the alcove, up the ladder, through the park, back home, get in bed, where I would wake proper. And so this particular day, I'm asking about this experience. I want to know what happened when I went through that second gateway. And at the tail end of this experience, in which I'm inquiring about it, let me first say, I don't recall the first portion of this experience, of this OBE. However, the tail end of it, as I'm shifting back into my physical space, I very much do. I'm with this species of being right here. This could actually be me, because the childlike version of the more grown-up version of the male who I found myself with in this particular experience. So it's really very simple. I just picked up on the transition back into physical space, and I'm face to face with a male version of this species of being, and we're eye locked, and the being has its hands raised, palms up toward me like this, and I have mine reached out toward his. Mine are palms down, without our hands actually touching, very close. And the energetic is just sort of pulling me back toward physical space where I'm about to wake in my bed, but not before I get a very good look at this being, of this species of being. And they are in a feel for what it is that they do. So I said previously, they assist the newly departed get to where they're going after their life experience, but they also assist people like me who consciously shift out of body, get to where we're going in a particular experience. So I do know or understand that this particular being or species of being were helping me get to the information that I had requested. However, I still was not able to retain that information consciously. I was, fortunately for me, able to retain the awareness of this species of being and my association with them. It is, again, another lifetime that I'm living, or experience that I'm living. I am a representative of this species of being and do assist the newly departed get to where they're going, and OBEers, people who can shift from consciousness space into between spaces, get to where they're going as well. And so, because I assist others, it was brought to my attention that I also am assisted by this very same species of being in my own experiences. They do look very human-like, clearly not Earth human, but very human-like. They have very pale skin. They almost look like there aren't as many delineative differences in their appearance as there are in ours as Earth humans. So they looked a little bit like cookie cutters of the same, like they all wore their hair the same. Their skin was all the same tone. Their hair was all the same color. It was all worn in the same fashion. You can kind of see it here very close to the head. um, there's a very stark contrast between the color of the hair, which is a very dark brown, if not black, with the very pale skin. That aspect really does stand out. They're just slighter than we are, perhaps 4 to 4.5 feet tall. I couldn't tell exactly because they don't exactly have feet. They don't walk upon what we would call ground, 3D solid ground. And so I saw them dressed in a just a white robe that extended past where what feet would be. And so I saw no feet, and they were, I don't know, a foot or 2 feet up off of the ground as we're, shifting back toward my physical space. So I couldn't tell the exact height, but I would guess 4 to 4.5 feet tall. Again, just slighter than an average sized human in weight. Uh, and as I was shifting back into physical space, the experience was stunning when it happened, not just because it always is when you're this consciously close to a being or level of being beyond our own, but because I was recognizing the species of being as having transmitted to me through the crystal. I was recognizing the species of being as being the species of being here that Chiyo belongs to. Now, what we see when we see Chiyo is almost like a caricature in comparison to their true to life forms. This happens a lot through the crystal. It's a phenomena that I really do enjoy. And I see it in the OBE as well. I'm somebody who, when I was going out of body, could retain full conscious awareness through the shift. And so the different planes or visual spheres that I would pass through as I was going out of body contained certain information. Void, point of light, star field, like this, geometric structures, an aerial level view of a world. And as I was shifting from where I could begin to see the aerial level view of a world down toward having my feet on that ground, from a distance, everything would look a bit like a cartoon and then a caricature. And then by the time I landed, fully true to life. And so this distance between myself and what I'm seeing can be represented in these ways, something cartoonish, something more caricature, half real, half cartoon, and then real. And so through the crystal, the same thing happens. And so when Chiyo came through like this, again, somewhat caricature, a lot of real life features coming through here as well. However, still in the caricature area. It just indicates that I was some distance. This being was approaching me from some distance. This is the information that comes through to me personally when I'm getting these caricatures. Now, as that distance begins to lessen, the beings come in more real and true to life. And we've seen some of those and we'll continue to see more. I say that this one came through and still in that caricature area, just because having seen them face to face, I can see I can still bring through more level of real life detail than I have here. And I look forward to that one day happening.